Man City return to Europe with a thrilling win. More history is made in Europe. Do Dortmund have a Haaland replacement? And a transfer roundup, all coming up on today's OneFootball Daily News. As I'm your host, Angelina Kelly, let's get into it. So it was another crazy night in Europe in the Champions League last night, and arguably one of the most impressive games was Manchester City against RB Leipzig in that 9-goal thriller. Of course, City made their return to European football after losing that Champions League final to Chelsea, and they managed to get a 6-3 victory. And even though they only have one out-and-out centre-forward in their impressive squad, it just proved once again that they do not lack when it comes to goals. Pep Guardiola's side produced a really impressive attacking display as they got off to a great start in Group A. It was actually really great to see Nathan Ake involved, as of course he managed to get the first goal for Manchester City. He's now the 10th different player to score this season in a blue shirt. Also, by the end of half-time, it was already 3-1 for Manchester City. Of course, Leipzig did score an own goal, and Riyad Mahrez got that great penalty. However, Leipzig and Christopher Nkunku were not giving up without a fight. He managed to score all 3 of Leipzig's goals and was really impressive and definitely gave them some hope, as at times it did seem pretty close as to whether Leipzig could potentially take the win. However, the hopes were dashed in the end as Manchester City scored even more goals, and unfortunately for Leipzig, Angelino was sent off with a high challenge on João Cancelo towards the end of the game. On the score sheet for Manchester City was Jack Grealish on his Champions League debut. Great to see him find the back of the net. And once again, this just kind of proves that although they may not have found a replacement for Sergio Aguero in the transfer window, Manchester City don't really need to worry when it comes to goals. 5 different goal scorers were on the sheet last night. In previous games with Manchester City so far this season, we have seen how many different options they do have in front of goal. And although some people may have potentially written them off when it comes to the Champions League, looking at some of the other talented teams that are involved, you definitely cannot write this Manchester City team off, as they got what could prove to be a really important win last night. Meanwhile, in the other Group A game, Club Brugge did face PSG, and all eyes were on this game as Mauricio Pochettino fielded Neymar, Mbappe and Messi. However, it ended up being a little bit underwhelming. It was actually Ander Herrera who scored PSG's only goal in a frustrating 1-1 draw, and to make matters worse, after about 50 minutes it seemed like Kylian Mbappe limped off with a suspected injury. Meanwhile, in the other European games last night, even more history was made. Last night, Ajax got a brilliant 5-1 victory over Sporting, and it was Sebastien who really did shine on the night. He managed to score Ajax's first goal within 68 seconds, and then by minute 9 he'd already managed to double the lead. And this was a really good piece of Champions League history, as he became the first player to actually achieve this. And if the night wasn't already a memorable one for Haller, he then went on to bring his tally to 4 goals in his competition debut, becoming only the second player to do so in the competition. Meanwhile, for Real Madrid, they travelled to the San Siro to face Inter Milan, and they managed to get a 1-0 victory, although I think a few people would have argued that Inter Milan should have walked away with the 3 points. Although when you look at the quality of both teams on the pitch, it was fairly matched. However, it was Inter Milan that arguably were the better team with their waves of attack, and despite 15 attempts at goal, it just wasn't enough. For Real Madrid, their goalkeeper Courtois definitely made the difference. He was their best player on the pitch, and if it wasn't for him, I think Inter Milan would have walked away with the 3 points. But for Carlo Ancelotti, he made the right substitutes. Rodrigo managed to get a goal, and like I say, Real managed to get the 3 points. Over in Liverpool, and the Reds managed to get a 3-2 victory over AC Milan, and Anfield did not disappoint with an amazing atmosphere. We had 30 minutes at the beginning of the game of some really impressive high-tempo football, some great goals from AC Milan, and it's a shame that their goalkeeper Mike Magnan is walking away on the losing team, as he was really impressive for them, despite of course them losing. However, for Liverpool, thanks to Mo Salah and Jordan Henderson, they managed to get 2 goals in the second half to seal that victory, and this is a really important victory considering Liverpool are of course in that group of death. Meanwhile, Jude Bellingham and Erling Haaland proved that Dortmund are not really missing Jadon Sancho just yet, as they got a 2-1 victory over Besiktas in Istanbul. It was a very rowdy crowd to say the least, and after about 20 minutes it seemed like Dortmund did manage to silence them. And it was a Bellingham-inspired victory, as of course he managed to find the back of the net, and he played a very important role in Erling Haaland's goal. Haaland's strike was his 21st goal in 17 games in the Champions League, including his tally from RB Salzburg and with Dortmund as well. The 21-year-old, who is the youngest player to reach this total, has also achieved the feat in 10 games fewer than any other player, with Ruud van Nistelrooy actually being the next closest in 27 games. Absolutely amazing from Haaland. Is there anything that this young talent can't do? So next up, and despite some great praise for Erling Haaland and his performances for Dortmund in the Champions League, there have been reports that the club have found a realistic replacement should the Norwegian international depart in the summer. So according to ESPN and Sportbild, it is Timo Werner, the Chelsea striker and German international, title that has emerged as a surprising solution for the club. Of course, as we've reported on the Daily News before, Erling Haaland has attracted so much attention from across Europe, and with a reported release clause now in effect of €75 million, it seems like it's only a matter of time before Haaland does make the move. So with Dortmund manager Marco Rose basically expecting his star player to be departing, executive Michael Zorc has been given the task of finding a player who fits in with their style, and this is how Werner has emerged as a potential prospect. In some ways, it definitely makes sense for Werner. Of course, when he was with RB Leipzig playing in the Bundesliga, he managed 28 goals in 34 appearances. This was enough for Chelsea to make the move for him last summer. He moved for £50 million, but since then, it's not been plain sailing for the player. He hasn't really managed to live up to the form that he managed to produce in the Bundesliga, as he's only managed 6 goals in 34 appearances with Chelsea. And of course, with the arrival of Romelu Lukaku, we have seen his game time minimised. However, for Dortmund, they have really got to be realistic about the fact that Haaland produces so many goals, and they're going to have to find a replacement that can 100% provide them with that. Although Werner has of course proven himself previously in the Bundesliga, if his form with Chelsea does continue, he may not be able to provide them with the goals that they're looking for. In addition, he is reportedly on about €20 million per season, which means that he would have to take a pay cut. But on the other hand, Werner has of course proven himself in the Bundesliga before, so who's to say that he couldn't do it again? And in addition, Bayern Munich have also reportedly set their sights on the player. I think we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the Premier League. If Werner can regain his form and get a bit more game time, that would be great, but if not, maybe a return to the Bundesliga is the best move for the player. And now we have our transfer roundup. This is where I take a look at some of the other news and transfers going on in the footballing world. And first up, according to reports, one of the reasons that PSG were reluctant to sell Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid was because they wanted Vinicius Jr. included in the deal. Liverpool have emerged as a potential destination for Robert Lewandowski should he be departing from Bayern Munich in the summer. Meanwhile, in Spain, Isco is reportedly becoming more and more frustrated with life at Real Madrid under Carlo Ancelotti and may be looking for a move away from the Bernabeu in January. And finally, despite emerging as a key player for Thomas Tuchel with Chelsea, Antonio Rudiger could be the player that is sacrificed in a sale in order to bring in Jules Koundé. So that's it for today's OneFootball Daily News. As always, check out all the other content that we've got here, and until next time, I will see you all later.